Today I'm going to show you how to make the best carrot cake. I spent a long time developing this cake because I really wanted it to be the best version out there. It's perfectly moist while still being buttery. The carrots add the perfect accent without being overpowering or giving you any weird texture in the cake. The spices are perfectly balanced. They blend well with the sweetness of the cake. Get your oven preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to be baking today's cake in two 8-inch pans. That's my preference, but if you only have 9-inch, that's fine. You'll just shave a couple minutes off the bake time. Grease and flour these, tap out the excess and line them with parchment paper rounds. This is going to make sure your cakes don't stick. I never make a cake without these anymore. The cake batter is going to come together in just one bowl. So grab yourself a large mixing bowl, and we're going to start with 2.5 cups of an all-purpose flour. I do prefer all-purpose to cake flour. It's going to give you just a nicer crumb. Cake flour is a little too fine for this cake, which is by nature slightly more hearty. For your sugar, we're doing 1 cup of granulated sugar and also 1 cup of brown sugar. Now you can use all light brown sugar if you prefer. I like to use a blend of light and dark. Let me just break this up. All dark brown sugar would be a little bit more moist and rich, a little more sweet. I like this blend best. 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I think I got those reversed. We'll add 1 teaspoon of table salt, then 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, and just a ½ teaspoon of ground nutmeg. I think these add the perfect blend of spices without making the cake taste too gingerbready, which is something I've run into in the past. Okay, so all of these get mixed together. If you make a lot of cakes, you'll probably notice this is not the traditional creaming method where we, beat the butter and sugar together. This method works really well for this cake. It comes together easily and you don't really have to worry about over mixing like you do with a lot of traditionally creamed cakes. Breaking up those lumps of brown sugar the best I can. Next, you're going to need 1 cup of a neutral cooking oil. It goes right in over these ingredients we have in our bowl. You can use canola oil, vegetable oil, or an avocado oil. We're going to also add a ½ cup of melted unsalted butter. Mine's re-solidified a bit while it's been sitting here, but I think it'll be all right. But, we don't waste any butter around here, so getting all of that in there. Okay, so this cake can be made without any mixer. You can use a whisk if you prefer, but it's easier if you use a little bit of machine help. So the next step is to make sure all of these dry ingredients and our sugar are completely moistened by the oil and butter. And a mixer just makes easy work of this, either an electric hand mixer or a stand mixer with a paddle attachment. Today I'm just using this. And Nikki's brought it to my attention. I just said you can use a whisk. I actually meant to say you can use a spatula or a spoon. A whisk, it could break your whisk. It gets a little bit stiff. But the important thing is everything gets nicely moistened. It's just a lot easier with a mixer. Okay, let me make sure you can see how this looks. Mixing so all the flour is moistened. Should be smelling pretty good about now. Next, we're going to add our eggs. You need 4 large eggs, and it's really best if they're room temperature. That one wasn't. Room temperature eggs are going to combine way better into your batter than cold ones will. When you add cold ones, sometimes things can sort of seize up, bake unevenly, your cake will sink in some spots. So we'll add these one at a time to get each one incorporated before we add the next. Number 2, number 3, and egg number 4. Okay, next, vanilla extract. We're going to use a full tablespoon of vanilla extract in here. Really adds incredible depth of flavor to the cake. It seems like a lot. It's not too much. It plays really nicely here. All right, next, I'm sure you saw this coming, the carrots. You need 3 cups of grated carrots for this recipe. Quick note on grating your carrots. Box graters a lot of times give me carrots that are just either too coarse or sometimes they're so fine and pulpy that it almost feels like I'm adding like a carrot mash. My personal preference for preparing these carrots is to do it in my food processor. First, I'll use the grate option, but usually then they're still too coarse. So then I'll pop in my regular blade and I'll just pulse them like a couple of 1-second pulses until I have carrots that are this nice, finer consistency. And that way they kind of blend into the cake nicely without giving you any awkward or stringy texture. You can see that here, how it looks. Oh, and this isn't mandatory, but I prefer to peel my carrots before I grate them as well. It looks nicer that way. The peel can look a little bit dingy, so I personally recommend peeling them. If you want to add nuts, you can add a cup of chopped pecans or chopped walnuts. Those both work really well in this cake. Also had people add raisins at this point as well. Not my preference, but I won't judge you if you do want to use those. Just gonna mix this in. Won't judge you too much, I should say. Be a little judgment. Just give it a quick mix with my mixer. One thing I really love about this cake is it does come together really quickly and easily. Even the frosting's super simple and straightforward. Okay, it's not the prettiest thing at this point, but it's going to taste amazing, and that's what really matters. So let's grab our pans that we've prepared. I will do my best to evenly divide this. And with a lot of cake batters, you have to be really careful about not over mixing the cake. This one is way more forgiving. You are more likely to run into problems if you undermix it than if you overmix it, which is why pausing to scrape the sides and bottom of your bowl and just making sure everything is really well combined is so important. It smells so good. Favorite way to eat carrots. All right, these are off to the center rack of our 350-degree Fahrenheit preheated oven. Please do make sure your oven is actually completely preheated. Don't pop them in early. They typically need to bake for about 40 minutes. I recommend the toothpick test. A toothpick inserted in the center should come out clean or with a few moist crumbs. That's how you know it's done. Then we'll let the cakes cool in their pan for 10 minutes before we run a knife around the edges and then carefully invert them onto a cooling rack where they will need to cool completely before you decorate them. I'm gonna be real with you, it's very important you let your cake cool completely before you decorate it, otherwise you're going to have a melted mess on your hands. I don't start making the frosting until the cakes are completely cool. Carrot cake requires a cream cheese frosting. I recently just shared a video on this frosting. It's probably my most popular frosting on the whole website. No, it definitely is. You're going to need 12 ounces of a full fat brick style cream cheese. Anything low fat or in a tub, you run the risk of it being really soft and weepy. So brick style is best. Now real quickly, usually I make a slightly smaller batch if I'm just decorating cupcakes or just like a sheet cake or I don't want to do any decorations. I like to have some extra frosting for piping. So this is actually a 50% increase from my basic recipe. It's the same thing, just more of it. So next we're going to add 3/4 cup of butter. You can either use salted butter and not add salt or unsalted butter, and you will add 1/4 teaspoon plus 1/8 teaspoon of table salt. Both of these need to be softened close to room temperature, if not at room temperature. That way when you cream them together, they are smooth and lump free. All right, this is looking nice. No lumps. I say smooth and creamy. It's not totally smooth, but you can see if you like flatten it with a spatula, you're not seeing a lot of lumps. It's nicely combined. Here I'm going to add the vanilla. It's 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. If I were adding salt, I would add that here as well. Using up all my vanilla. Let's mix this in. All right, and then I have 6 cups of powdered sugar measured out. Remember, we're doing a 50% increase so we can have that frosting for the top. So it does seem like a lot because it kind of is. That way we have a large amount of frosting. You can use slightly less. You could get away with 4 to 5 cups if you're okay with a really silky frosting that you can't really pipe nicely. So just a little bit more. Stop here real quickly. We've added about 4 cups of sugar at this point, so you can see how it would look. If you like your frosting a little bit more tangy and you're not going to be doing the piping on top, you could get away with this. It'll just be a little softer. Mix in the rest of it. Make sure you scrape the sides and bottom of your bowl. Get all of that sugar well incorporated. This is looking pretty good. Our cakes are completely cool, so let me grab them and let's decorate them. First, I like to put a little frosting on my cake platter. And these cakes usually bake up nice and flat, so I rarely need to level them. I won't be leveling them today. Make a nice thick layer of frosting in the middle. Cake layer number 2. Cake decorating is so stressful for me. I'll take the rest of the frosting. I'm just going to put it in a piping bag fitted with an Attico 846 tip. Swirls on top. Ideally, you should let your frosting sit for a little bit before you cut into it. It can get a little messy if the frosting's freshly applied, but I'm ready to eat this. So let's dig in. I'm sure you're ready to see how it looks. And that is how you make my favorite carrot cake. I'm really excited for you to try this one. If you do, or if you have in the past, let me know what you think. I really do always love hearing from you. Time to try it. This is the perfect cake. Oh my gosh. So much potential. That was like a weird way to, where are my pans? Shoot, sorry. Okay. This is not melted anymore. We've added about 4 cups of frosting. I just want you to see what, so this is gonna be like 6 cups of frosting. I mean sugar. Why do I get those two confused? This is where I really struggle to make things level. Like I genuinely can't tell.